Wow, Vin Diesel is in this game? Wait, no, that's Zin Benzin. Yeah, that's funny. Welcome one and all to the Worst Racing Game, a series where you guys suggest different racing games that you think are truly awful, and we rank them in a tier list. Now today we are looking at Flatout 3 Chaos and Destruction, a subtitle that perfectly describes this game. It is chaotic, and it destroyed my will to live. Flatout 3 released in late 2011 and was developed by Team 6 Game Studios. Most of the other games in the series up to that point were developed by Bugbear Entertainment, so there's already a warning sign for you. The game was published by Strategy First, which is ironic because they definitely didn't put strategy first when overseeing the development of this game. Anyway, whilst the vast majority of the series up to this point had been on console as well as PC, this was the first and only PC exclusive entry into the series. Okay, so let's look at the key features that they're advertising on the Steam page for this game. A physics engine capable of delivering over 20,000 fully destructible objects on every track. Wow. 47 vehicles with everything from muscle cars, monster trucks, tanks, bulldozers, and more? How can there be more? 9 game modes plus challenge mode that incorporates all game modes into one 62-track race. Boy, I can't think of anything worse. 10 racing environments with 62 different racetracks, as well as 3 stunt mode environments with 12 stunt tracks, 9 Destruction Derby battle environments, all new monster truck, night shift, off-road and speed modes, and I'm sure you can imagine how good all these new modes are. 8 multiplayer modes with support for up to 16 players. Good luck finding 15 other players to play this game with. Force feedback support for racing wheels. And I tried this. It was hell. Oh, I like how it feels when you turn, in that it feels like a fucking tank. Why is it so hard to turn? Oh yeah, by the way, the game just auto-accelerates. It just would not let my pedals work. So I'm just playing with the wheel and the game is accelerating for me. Oh my fucking god, just respawn. Larger destruction derbies with 24 players, complete chaos in off-road mode, complete destruction in all-new monster truck mode, and head-to-head in nightmarish, thunderous, rainy, fog weather in night shift mode. So they've basically just recreated England. So now we have an idea of what exciting things await you in Flatout 3, let's talk about how the game actually works. Spoiler warning, it doesn't. So the way the cars handle in this game really are all over the shop. There is literally no consistency here whatsoever. Half the time it feels like your car has had lube rubbed all over the wheels and you've driven out onto an ice rink. And other times it suddenly feels like you're in the best downforce gripping car you've ever been in, to the point where it's overcompensating for all the sliding you've done beforehand. If I had one word to summarize the handling of cars in this game, it's jarring. It's very jarring because you just go from one extreme to the other, back and forth with no real indicator as to why. And this isn't just an isolated problem to one game mode or one class of car, this is across the board on the Formula 1 cars, the monster trucks, the muscle cars, the sports cars, everything just feels exactly the same. So let's work our way through these 9 fantastic modes and see what this game really has to offer. So let's start off with the most obvious choice with just your standard races. The races work, I guess. The AI go anywhere from Michael Schumacher in his prime to, well, Michael Schumacher now, and it's just ridiculous. AI drivers will either hurtle off around a corner into a wall, or they'll suddenly decide they're driving the McMurtry Spearling and floor it round a corner with maximum downforce and maximum speed. Track designs vary from irritating to just downright awful. The game boasts that there's up to 20,000 destructible things at once with its engine, and yet half the map doesn't seem to be destructible, and it's never clear what is and what isn't able to be destroyed. Sometimes you'll hit a fence and it will shatter into pieces, other times you'll hit it and your driver will just cease to exist. And whilst we're talking about the race mode, we may as well just discuss the night shift mode as well, because it's literally the same thing except they've just turned the vision down to 0. They basically just go, what if we had our races looking like early days of Silent Hill? It's rainy, it's foggy, it's exactly the same as the race mode except you can just see less, but you still have the minimap anyway, so it's not really that bad. It has all the same problems with handling, with physics, it's just even harder to see. They describe that game mode specifically as being nightmarish, but I would just apply that term to like the entire game. And finally, also on the topic of races, we have the speed mode, which is essentially just racing, but Formula 1 kind of. Yes, I suppose it does feel fast, but again, it's just another ice rink simulator. I really tried hard to find a game mode or literally anything in this game that I could enjoy. Like, I know the review scores for this game on Steam are notoriously low, but I thought there's got to be something redeeming in this game. And I'm really struggling to think of anything. The stunt mode makes a return in Flatout 3, and whilst the stunts have always been, let's face it, somewhat janky, but definitely very fun, in here they are just incredibly janky and no fun whatsoever. I tried to spend the same amount of time on each game mode so that I could give a justifiable opinion on each one, without sounding biased of my first experience being tarnished, but with stunt mode, after playing it for literally about 15 to 20 minutes, I knew I'd already seen all that it had to offer, and it was just really annoying. If you made it this far into the video, please comment Zin Benzin down below. Give that man the respect he deserves. Okay, so next up we have the Monster Truck mode, and this is one of their big new modes that they've been featuring on the Steam page. You get to pick from a few different monster trucks, then you get put into an arena, and your objective is to simply just find the objects it's telling you to and destroy them before everyone else does. That's pretty much it. It's not really like monster truck modes in certain other games where you get score for doing cool tricks, wheelies, flips, stuff like that. You just drive around a fairly generic map and smash into things. Again, all the trucks handle like shit, the AI act like complete morons, and the whole thing is just incredibly unfun. Now, whilst we're on the topic of more off-roady stuff, let's talk about the off-road game mode. Now, initially, it was very unclear what the actual objective of the off-road mode was, because there's just markers you drive to, and at first it feels like you're in a race, but it isn't actually a race. It's entirely based on score, so based on drifts, how much you smash into the environment, how much you smash into other drivers, and airtime. I struggled to do a single drift because I just couldn't get the game to cooperate with me, so I had to settle for airtime and just smashing into stuff, whether it was intentional or not. It's incredibly easy because you don't need to race ahead, you can just zigzag around, smash into things, and then you win. The first time I played it, I didn't even know how to play, and I just won anyway. To be honest, my biggest criticism of the off-road mode is that it's very unclear where you're actually meant to go next, because the markers are not very clear. The markers are made of very faint smoke that tend to blend into the background of the level that they're in, so it's quite easy to take a wrong turn or go the wrong way, so the best thing to do is just hang back and watch the AI do it and just follow them instead, if they don't crash. Now, technically there are 3 game types remaining, but I would say there's only 2. There's 2 different types of Demolition Derby, one with less players and one with more players, but they call that 2 different game modes, which I think is ridiculous. The demolition in this game is just outright unfair. You'll ram cars at full speed and it will do more damage to you than it does to them. It's just very inconsistent. Sometimes you hit something and it's like a one-hit kill, other times you do 1% damage. Incredibly inconsistent, not very entertaining, and all the AI just target you, even if there's plenty of other racers to go for. Now, the final game mode I want to talk about before we move on to the visuals and design is a mode where you have to run over zombies. On paper, this should be the most entertaining thing ever, but it isn't. It tries to capture the vibes of games like Zombie Highway for mobile that came out a year prior, but does so incredibly unsuccessfully. The lighting in all these maps is absolutely atrocious, and the default camera setting, when you hit a zombie, it tends to get stuck inside your car, and the splatters from the zombies take up most of the screen, so you just have these red marks on your screen and a zombie blocking most of the way, so you can't really see where you're going. I think the biggest problem that the game modes of Flatout 3 have is that they're all incredibly undercooked. Instead of just focusing on a couple of good game modes, like just having a decent race mode, a decent demolition derby, and working on the stunt mode from the previous games, they've just overstuffed it with a bunch of half-baked ideas that are really glitchy and incredibly boring. Another issue that this game had was that Flatout was quite a prestigious title at the time. You had Flatout 1, 2, and the enhanced Ultimate Carnage before this came out. It was well beloved, it was entertaining, so you would think they would have allotted the budget and time and care that a series like this required. And I will find it forever baffling that both the developer and the publisher looked at this and went, yep, that's perfect, let's put it on sale. Now let's discuss the visuals and design of Flatout 3. Now, normally I'm not one to fault a game on visuals if the game itself is actually fun, but when the game is as painful and as boring as this, it's not even pretty to look at. This has got to be one of the ugliest 2011 racing games out there. It goes from being anywhere from way too dark to way too oversaturated in the space of one single straight on a track. The character models, whilst not the focus of the game, are hideous. The car models themselves are okay. They vary from being average to just downright awful. I don't like to normally compare, but let's just read out some good racing games that came out in 2011, because oh boy, it was a banging year. We had Forza Motorsport 4, Dirt 3, Cars 2, Driver San Francisco, Need for Speed Shift 2, Mario Kart 7, and MotorStorm Apocalypse, which is somewhat similar to Flatout. Every single one of those games are very entertaining because they were given the time and care that they deserved from their developers. As well as ugly in-game visuals, I have to say the menu design is just atrocious as well. It looks incredibly tacky and like it was designed by a toddler. On top of this, the music in this game is just god-awful. Flatout 2 had a really banging classic 2000s soundtrack featuring songs from Fall Out Boy, Nickelback, Yellowcard, Audioslave. There was just so much going on here, and it was iconic, like the Burnout series as well. This is just some of the most generic, almost AI-generated sounding music I've ever heard in my entire life. It's basically just heavy metal elevator music. It is awful. The game as a whole just feels like Team 6 did not care remotely about the Flatout franchise. There is no effort put in here in graphics, in gameplay, in variety, in the soundtrack. The whole thing is just a painful pile of slop. If I had to try and give some praise to this game for anything, I guess I could say there's a decent variety of cars and a decent variety of characters to play as, even if they are all completely unfunny and very ugly. I mean, what? Xmas 2011? What? Flatout 3 to racing games is what Lance Stroll is to F1. A complete and utter joke. Anyway, Flatout 3 Chaos and Destruction would go on to reach a 23 out of 100 on Metacritic, with pretty much all negative reviews and like 1 or 2 mixed reviews, along with a user score slightly higher with a 3.7 out of 10. Now, as far as I can see from looking around, Flatout 3 never received a physical PC release, so there was no disc, only digital. And because of this, I haven't really been able to find a reliable sales figure for this game. VG Charts states about 125,000 copies were sold, but various sources for SteamDB quote figures from 190,000 all the way up to about 250,000. But what we do know is that the game had a peak player count of 47 players at one time. Oh man, that is rough. So now we have to rank Flatout 3 in our worst racing games tier list. Honestly, there's no other slot for this game except pure evil. It's not entertaining enough to be in the so bad that it's actually kind of good category. It is just downright terrible. There is no redemption for this game at all. So thank you very much for watching this episode of Worst Racing Games, and if there's a game you want to see in this series, please let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, and if you haven't done so already, subscribe and tap that bell for notifications. And as always, I will see you in my next video. Bye bye.